On the night of October 7, 1958, something extraordinary happened in Pakistan. Before tanks moved, before assemblies were dissolved, before martial law was announced, foreign ambassadors were called first. Why would a civilian president secretly invite American and British ambassadors before ending democracy? And why does history rarely question his role in Pakistan's first military takeover? Tonight, we uncover the civilian mistakes, political greed, and constitutional sabotage that paved the way for Pakistan's first martial law. Hello, and welcome to Current Affairs with Faraz. I'm Muhammad Faraz. On this channel, we don't follow popular narratives. We question power, expose political failures, and revisit history with facts, not slogans. Today's episode is about October 1958 and how President Sikandar Mirza's own actions destroyed civilian rule from within. On the night of October 7, 1958, in Karachi, Pakistan's capital at the time, the American and British ambassadors received an urgent message. They were requested to reach President House immediately for an extremely important meeting. When both ambassadors arrived, they found President Sikandar Mirza and Army Chief General Ayub Khan waiting. According to historian Aisha Jalal, the president personally informed the Western diplomats that he was about to end civilian government and impose martial law. He assured them that the new setup would be more loyal to the West and would play a stronger role against communism during the Cold War. This detail is critical. Pakistan's first martial law was not sudden, emotional, or forced overnight. It was planned, discussed, and politically marketed, starting with foreign approval. After this meeting, military units began taking control of key government institutions. General Ayub Khan later wrote in his book Friends Not Masters that a full brigade in Karachi was activated for the operation, with an additional brigade brought from Quetta to ensure success, but preparations had begun much earlier. According to Hassan Abbas on October 4, 1958, the U.S. ambassador had already informed Washington that Sikandar Mirza would take full control within a week and impose martial law. This was not an army conspiracy alone. It was a civilian president dismantling his own system. That night, Sikandar Mirza made his most destructive move. He abrogated the constitution. He dissolved the national and provincial assemblies. He detained Prime Minister Malik Feroz Khan Noon and his cabinet. Political parties were banned. Elections were postponed indefinitely. In his public address, Sikandar Mirza justified these actions by blaming politicians, corruption, instability, and even the misuse of Islam in politics. He claimed elections would only worsen chaos, but the truth was simpler. Free elections would have removed him from power. Pakistan's first general elections were scheduled earlier, but Sikandar Mirza kept delaying them. He knew that once elections happened, his presidency would end. Martial law became a tool for personal survival, not national stability. Ironically, by destroying the constitution, Sikandar Mirza also destroyed his own legitimacy. His own secretary, Qudratullah Shahab, later wrote that after abrogating the constitution, Sikandar Mirza was like a man who had cut down the very tree under whose shade he had risen to power. When the case reached the Supreme Court, Justice Muner once again used the doctrine of necessity and legalized the takeover, calling it a revolution similar to France, Russia, and China. With judicial approval secured, the field was now open. But a new problem emerged. There were now two centers of power, the president and the chief martial law administrator. And history shows that such dual power never lasts. Sikandar Mirza soon realized his mistake. By giving full authority to the army chief, he had weakened himself. According to General Ayub Khan's own writings, even Sikandar Mirza's wife, Begum Nahid Mirza, warned him repeatedly that empowering Ayub Khan was a grave error. Instead of correcting course constitutionally, Sikandar Mirza chose conspiracy. He tried to manipulate civilians, divide the military, and secretly explored ways to remove the army chief. At one point, he even contacted the Air Force leadership, asking them to arrest senior army generals. This information was immediately passed to military intelligence. Ayub Khan personally confronted Sikandar Mirza and warned him clearly, no games. No tricks, you are playing with fire. Legally, Sikandar Mirza's position had already collapsed. After the constitution was abolished, the office of president had no legal foundation. In a final political move, Sikandar Mirza attempted to reduce Ayub Khan's power by removing him as chief martial law administrator and appointing him prime minister instead. But this move backfired. Just 20 days after martial law, on the night of October 27, 1958, military vehicles entered President House. Sikandar Mirza was woken from his sleep. He was presented with a typed resignation letter and told to sign it immediately and leave the residence. Faced with armed officers, he had no choice. He and his wife were allowed to take limited belongings and were escorted out of President House, the same house from which he had ended democracy. Within hours, Ayub Khan took over the presidency. Foreign ambassadors were informed. Sikandar Mirza was flown to Quetta, then later exiled permanently to London. There, Pakistan's first president lived his remaining years in isolation and financial difficulty. He died in 1969 on his birthday, at the age of 70. Pakistan's government did not allow his burial in the country. He was buried in Iran. The story of 1958 is often told as a military takeover. But history becomes clearer when we ask the uncomfortable question: who destroyed the Constitution first? Who delayed elections? Who invited foreign approval before ending democracy? The first blow to Pakistan's democracy did not come from a tank. It came from a civilian president who feared losing power. When politicians abandon the Constitution for personal survival, they don't save the system, they kill it. This is Current Affairs with Faraz. Question narratives, study history, and never stop asking who truly benefits from power. Allah Hafiz.